Hello and welcome to our tutorial. So we're going to just work on a very basic, very simple FPS hand rig, and then we're going to bring that probably in the second part of this tutorial into Unity. So I'm just going to start with going to front orthographic mode here, and then I want to add in, it's going to delete my default cube for now. I'll probably end up adding a cube back in, but I'm going to add an empty image. And actually, if we look from the top here, we can see this. So over here, if I click on the empty, it says it's an image, and I can go open. So I'm going to go to my desktop here, and I'm going to use this image here as a reference point. So this is just an image I found online. It's quite high res. It's, I think, not of real hands, but of CG hands, but that's all fine for what we're doing now. So we're just going to try and very quickly model a hand using this image here. So I'm going to go to back to front view, and I'm going to rotate that on X by 90 degrees, and we're just going to make our hands here. So I'm going to go to my cursor and place my cursor here on the finger. I'm going to go Shift A, add cube, which is huge, and press S, scale down. I'm just doing this by eye to here, and we'll get rid of that warning, and we'll go to wireframe mode, and we'll look in here, and we're going to go into edit mode, and we'll start building. So we'll make one finger, we can duplicate it, and we can build a hand. So Alt A and B, and scale this down, G, or now I'm not going to make this the most detailed model in the world, but we'll see what we can get. And we'll extrude to here, and to here. And to here. So I'm just pressing E to extrude, and G to place things, and then S to make them bigger or smaller. I'm going to do a loop cut in a minute. And we'll just do one more for him now. Okay, so the loop cut I'm going to do is going to be that way, and I'm going to look from the front again. So we can't see that, it's in the middle, so I'm going to go S on X and just widen it out a bit, and then I'm going to take the top part of it here, these two verts, and go G, and then scale them in a little bit. Okay. Now I should probably do a loop cut that way and do the same, so I'm just going to use sort of my imagination for this, and just scale it on Y a little bit that way. So we're just trying to make it more three-dimensional. Then what we will do is we'll go to the modifier stack, and we'll add a subdivision surface modifier, and we'll select all, and we will go to the mesh, to faces, and hit set smooth. We want to delete this vertex here, so that it's hollow. We don't want internal geometry. Okay, so that's my basic outline of my finger. It is far from perfect, and maybe that's a little bit too broad there. Okay, and we just want to then make the fingernail. So we'll go back to wireframe mode, and we will select, we go to face select here, so we're going to select those 4 faces, and we did a bad job of that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, so those ones there, and I'm going to press E for extrude and then escape. I'm going to press S and then S on X to bring these in, and then I can go back to my vertex select and just try and place these vertices roughly where they should be. Again, it's just to approximate. So then I can go back to selecting the relevant faces, and I'm going to extrude this inward, scale it in fractionally, and then I'm going to extrude it back out on itself and scale it in fractionally. Looking from the side here, I'm going to go to my vertex select mode and select 1, 2, and 3, and press scale on Y. Going to flatten these, and then GY. Let's move this down, and then same with this guy here. I want to flatten him down a bit. And then I want to extrude the top of the nail just a little bit. So these 2 here, I'm going to extrude that and scale that on Y. And that's too much, but we'll place that there. Okay, and finally we're just going to take it all, and our fingers are a little bit wider than they are thick, so I'm going to scale it on Y a little bit. Okay, so there's my sort of index finger, and what I want to do is I'm going to duplicate this, so Shift D, move this to here, rotate it a little bit, and G, I'm going to place it. And now I'm going to go back into wireframe mode. I'm going to go to vertex select, Alt A to deselect, and then I'm going to go B, and draw a box, go G, and try and position this and scale it appropriately. That should be about there. And whoops, I've hit play there by accident. So G, we'll rotate it a little bit, scale it in fractionally, and scale that fractionally. Okay. So there's that finger. I can press L, which is all linked vertices, and go Shift D, and the same over here, and rotate it, and then go in and try and scale and position. So Alt A to deselect, I'm pressing B, kind of moving that into position. Now the nail is not quite right, but you know, we'll survive. And one of the kind of problems, or one of the issues with trying to get these things right, is the images of hands from our perspective. We want an FPS hand, so we want to actually split it, not front to back like this, because the seam will be visible on the back of the thumb. And if it's a first-person shooter, then the seam will be highly visible. We want to actually split it down the middle of the index finger, so, and through the back of the hand and the forehand, or the palm. But this is the reference image we have that I have chosen, so this is what we will live with. And finally, we'll put this in position. And there. And then L, Shift D, over we go. And try and get this to work as well. So again, using B. And what we'll do next is we're going to start making the hand. Okay, and we'll take that guy there and bring him here, and that guy and bring him to there. Okay, so we have a beginning, and we are going to so model on, join these together, model down here, make our thumb, which is sort of rotated at 90 degrees, so it's going to be hard to get that just right. Build our mesh here, and then we're going to UV unwrap, and we're going to project it, and then place these on the image. So let's just have a little go at that now so we can see. So I'm going to select it all, and I'm going to go project from view. I'm going to go to my UV image editing, and we're in here, and I'm going to use the image of my hands that we have, and I can take these guys here, move them across and scale them up, and because we've actually created these from the image, they should actually lay on top quite accurately. Now we're gonna have to redo this property in a little bit, so we'll put on the generic material and we'll call it hand 1. We'll go to our shading and have a little look at our nodes here, and we'll just add in the image texture, which is our hands, oops, not the render, and then we'll put that into color. We'll worry about spec and normal maps, etc. in a bit, and we'll go, no, not to rendering, let's go back to modeling. And just for now, we'll take our empty and we'll turn it off, and we'll go to rendered mode. And back to, so you can see we can get the image. Now there is a difficulty with this because we have also nails on this side, so that's because we've done a UV projection. But we'll be adding seams in to cut this in half to make it more manageable and more, like it should be. Just to give you an idea of where we're going. Okay, so I'm going to go back into edit mode and go back to solid mode, and we can maybe we should be in the workbench actually for this, but yeah. Okay, so to join these together, and again I'm going to turn off my empty here. I'm going to select these three and these three and go edge, bridge, edge, loop. I'm going to do the same here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and edge, bridge, edge, loop, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and edge, bridge, edge, loop. So we have joined them together. And now with our empty selected, we are going to do a loop select. Now I'm going to turn back off this image again. So we have to be careful that we haven't got any internal geometry selected, any of these middle verts, because otherwise we'll end up with geometry in the middle of the hand, which is not what we want, and it will give us all sorts of rendering errors. So I'm going to extrude. And I'm going to scale this a little bit on Z, and press G. Now we're not kind of taking into account how wide the hand is, but we will come back and do that. I'm going to extrude over the knuckle, scale this in slightly, extrude again, So for sort of the end of the knuckle, and I'm going to scale this on Z. Rotate this a little bit, just to tidy up the geometry a little bit. And then the next one is going to be down to basically the start of to the beginning of the thumb. Now I'm going to behave as if the thumb doesn't exist, so I'm going to extrude 2 more times to sort of the back of the thumb. So I'm going to extrude here, scale it slightly, and then extrude again to here and rotate, scale G, and then we're going to use this part here to break off and make our thumb. Extrude here, rotate and scale. Extrude, and scale slightly, and then 2 more, and then we will work on the thumb. Okay, so I'm just going to pause there, and we're going to come back and work on the thumb, and when we finish the thumb we're also going to add in the armature.